Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now, the 19 News Digital Desk. We are approaching 1 year since the train derailment in East Palestine. 1 year since people in that town had their lives uprooted. They saw chemicals being poured out of train cars. They saw a plume of smoke as a result of the burn-off that happened. They've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of EPA, federal workers, local workers, Norfolk Southern workers come in and out, trying to figure out potentially what damage was caused. And now we are at a year. So where are we? Where have we been in this? The White House addressing that today. Senior officials and senior advisors with the White House held a press conference earlier. They embargoed it for a little bit. That's why it's coming to you now, to essentially address at least what the federal government has done. I would like to point out here, we've discussed this very much so. J.D. Vance, Republican senator here in the state of Ohio, and Sherrod Brown, Democratic senator here in the state of Ohio, both in agreement very much so on a bill that was proposed in the House that would make railways safer. That very much so picked up speed early on last year after the derailment, and then disappeared, like many things in Washington. That is addressed here. You're going to hear about the Railway Safety Act that very much so is at the forefront right now, but it almost seems like a thing where, like, the first half of the year, everybody's going to care, and then they'll stop again. So let's get you right now. It's going to start. It's going to be just a phoner, so you're just going to see some photos of these people. But we're going to start with Michael Regan with the EPA.
It's great to join you all today. I'd like to begin today's call by thanking the residents of East Palestine and the community's leadership. It's been 1 year since a Norfolk Southern freight train carrying millions of pounds of hazardous chemicals derailed, releasing toxic chemicals into the environment and upending lives across this community. For many, it's been a year of fear, a year of uncertainty, and a year of change. We recognize times have been very challenging. That's why I'm so thankful for the leadership of President Biden, who mobilized this whole of government response to support the people of East Palestine, Ohio, and supported the United States Environmental Protection Agency as we worked hard to hold Norfolk Southern accountable, clean up this mess, and restore this tight-knit community. Under President Biden's leadership, emergency response personnel from the U.S. EPA arrived on the scene within hours of the derailment, joining the local first responders who heroically prevented loss of life, serious injury, and additional property damage in the surrounding residential area. Every day since, the United States Environmental Protection Agency has been laser focused on this community, and our work is not yet done. The U.S. EPA will continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with the East Palestine community until we are certain that every bit of hazardous contamination is gone. We will not leave until this community is restored and made whole again. And let me be clear, we will not rest in our mission to hold Norfolk Southern accountable for this disaster they inflicted on the people of East Palestine and its surrounding communities. We have leveraged every enforcement tool available to our agency against Norfolk Southern to ensure they complete and pay for extensive cleanup activities. And we have checked their work every step of the way. Because of this oversight and our comprehensive and ongoing science-based monitoring, we're confident that the residents of East Palestine are not at risk from impacted surface water, soil, or air from the derailment. Folks, it's been a year of action, and we've accomplished so much since last February. The United States Environmental Protection Agency continues to direct cleanup in East Palestine, and to date, we've excavated more than 176,000 tons of contaminated soil out of the community for disposal. We've shipped more than 43 million gallons of wastewater off-site, more than 6 million gallons of which were treated on-site prior to being shipped off-site. Our agency has collected more than 115 million air monitoring data points and more than 45,000 samples in and around the community, giving us confidence in the safety of the air, water, and soil in this community. We've cleaned 83 homes and structures to address potential dust emissions that may have been generated as part of the train derailment and cleanup work to provide additional layers of comfort to homes and businesses. And EPA's Community Welcome Center has served more than 1,200 visitors and received over 1,300 calls and is still available to residents who who may have questions. Our agency has also participated in over 60 community-based events, including town halls, open houses, community meetings, school visits, local fairs, to engage residents and provide information. And this community engagement is ongoing. We continue to issue a monthly newsletter to 9,000 homes in the area to keep everyone up to date on our progress. So I'm proud of the work that we've done, and I'm grateful for the leadership of President Biden and my interagency partners on this call. I'm so thankful for the 500 plus EPA personnel who have been on the ground, facilitating and supporting cleanup and managing oversight of Norfolk Southern, leading public engagement efforts and ensuring the community is kept informed every step of the way. We will continue to partner with federal, state, and local organizations to assist those experiencing impacts from the derailment. So many lives were upended, and so much has changed since last February, but I've seen firsthand the strength and resilience of this community, the significant progress we've made on cleanup, and I'm confident in the community's ability to bounce back stronger than ever before. And now I'm honored to introduce my partner in this whole of government approach, Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
Thanks very much, Administrator Regan, and I want to recognize your leadership and the EPA's leadership in making sure that the people of East Palestine had the benefit of accountability for Norfolk Southern and the cleanup that you have ensured they are funding and undertaking. In the meantime, we have been at work here at the U.S. Department of Transportation throughout this entire process and will continue to do so. Safety is our department's main reason for being, and whether it's aviation safety, roadway safety, or railway safety, it is always our top priority, including safety for those who use our transportation systems, the workers who operate them, and the communities that rely on them. And of course, all of this was at stake and continues to be at stake in the response to what happened 1 year ago. I appreciate this opportunity to share some of the work that the DOT has undertaken, as well as to reiterate the urgency of Congress taking action. 1 year later, Congress has yet to pass the Bipartisan Railway Safety Act. In the past, there have been times when Congress stood up against the railroad lobby and stepped up on railroad safety, and they should do that now. In the early 2010s, we saw a number of high-profile freight rail incidents across the U.S. and Canada, including one that left 47 people dead and leveled a town. In the wake of those events, there were significant new rail safety rules, often enacted over strong opposition from industry, and there were real improvements, including a reduction in derailments of about 15% on mainline tracks following those reforms. A decade later, progress plateaued, and derailments and preventable incidents are happening at an unacceptable rate. The derailment of that Norfolk Southern train in East Palestine was not only a crisis for the community, but also a wake-up call for the country, making it clear that Congress, industry, and our department could and needed to do more to improve safety. At our department, we wasted no time using the full range of our authority and using funding from the Biden infrastructure package to make improvements in three key areas. One, supporting rail workers and first responders. Workers are safer, more effective, and better able to do their job when they aren't overworked and when they have the right tools to do their job. So I want to point to a few steps that have been taken. One, thanks to pressure from this administration and from the president, railroads are now providing paid sick leave to Class 1 rail workers, a rate of about 88%. It was close to zero 2 years ago. We are pushing to get it all the way to 100%, but there has been major progress over the course of the last year. Another issue had to do with information for first responders. Some of the responders in East Palestine didn't get information about the contents of the train and the hazardous materials that were on fire until after they had arrived on scene. So we've been developing a new rule to require railroads to provide real-time electronic information to first responders when a hazmat incident occurs. We've also been increasing engagement and use of the Ask Rail app. About 2 million first responders now have real-time access to hazmat data on trains, thanks to work that has been collaborative with these communities, railroads, and our own department, notably FRA and PHMSA, Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration. And just a few days ago, FRA finalized a new rule requiring railroads to provide emergency escape breathing apparatus, something that can protect train crews and employees transporting certain kinds of hazardous material. We've also put forward $30 million in grants to support increased training for responders to address hazmat emergencies. So that's one, we're supporting rail workers and first responders. Second, holding railroads accountable. FRA completed over 7,000 focused inspections along high hazard flammable train routes, inspecting over 40,000 freight cars and over 76,000 miles of track across 28 different railroads. And FRA is taking action on the findings from those inspections and prompting railroads to take corrective measures. FRA also conducted a safety assessment of Norfolk Southern's safety practices and is now in the process of assessing each Class 1 railroad and trends across the industry as a whole. Next category I would emphasize is building safer infrastructure for passenger and freight rail alike. $1.4 billion have gone out through the Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements Program, or CRISI, to modernize and upgrade rail systems, touching safety projects in 25 different states and DC, 70 projects benefiting from the largest amount ever awarded through this program. We also launched the first ever railroad crossing elimination program with over $500 million to improve or eliminate 400 at-grade crossings across 32 states. This is life-saving work that is also creating jobs. And we're applying what we've learned from investigations to issue safety advisories and propose further rules that are going to make a big difference in day-to-day safety. So the USDOT has been working throughout. Congress and industry need to do their part too. I'll spend a moment talking about industry. Shortly after this incident, I called on all Class 1 freight railroads to participate in the confidential close call reporting system, or C3RS, which lets rail employees report safety issues without fear of retribution. This week, Norfolk Southern took an important first step, launching a pilot program allowing about 1,000 workers across several sites to confidentially report close calls. We believe all Class 1 railroads need to make good on the promises that they made about a year ago about being willing to join a program like this. And then there's Congress. Almost 1 year after the Norfolk Southern derailment, Congress has still not passed the Bipartisan Railway Safety Act. This legislation would phase in newer, safer tank cars more quickly. It would increase the authority of my department to assess tough penalties against railroads for safety violations. It would require better detectors. It would expand the list of hazardous materials that qualify for certain safety precautions and more. It should not be the case that 1 year after that derailment, we are still waiting for Congress to act. And yet we have seen many who had a lot to say about this in Congress a year ago still not make clear on the record whether they are for or against this bill. And we've seen some House Republicans who have now voted twice to pass legislation that would cut railroad safety funding and track inspections. We've done our part at the DOT. We are pressing industry to do their part. Congress needs to act as well. And any congressional leader of any party who is serious about railroad safety should support funding for railroad safety inspections and inspectors, and should support the Railway Safety Act that can help make railroading safer across America.
So all of this essentially to ensure that we keep East Palestine and what's been going on at the forefront, but obviously we will not know. Okay, the president, will be traveling to East Palestine in February. We do not know when, but of course when we find out, we will let you know as soon as possible. That is it for our coverage here from 19 News. We'll have much more on this and many other stories tonight on 19 News at 10 and 11. For now, I'm Jeff Slauson, 19 News. Have a great night. Much more to come, both on air and online.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for Channel 1035.